Onions. He's got it exactly right first ball and exactly right second ball.
Well, look, I think England have done their homework. They decided last night they bowled a little wide and a little short, and they've gone with Onions because they know the type of bowler he is. He's nippy. He's around about that 90 miles an hour, and he bowls wicket to wicket, and that's what they wanted the Australians playing. You know, a lot of balls hitting the bat, or that sort of area of uncertainty. So they got it exactly right first two balls.
Mind you, did he get it right the hat-trick ball? I don't see many bounces on a hat-trick ball.
Yeah, well, I suppose it was the double whammy, wasn't it? Michael Clarke's probably thinking he's going to throw this up, trying to bowl the the perfect outswinger. So I'm going to dive on the front foot, trying to smother it. And so he bowled him what in the end was almost perfect bouncer, and it wasn't far away from the glove. So, yeah, look, interesting ball to bowl, but yeah, look, it nearly got it right.
He did.
Well, it wasn't all doom and gloom for the Aussies at the start of the day's play, with Ricky Ponting passing your record for most test runs by an Australian batsman. And let's take a look at some of the action now.
That'll be the two that brings Ponting that Australian record, but it was perilously close to Ian Bell at short leg.
Great moment for Ricky Ponting. Leading run scorer in Test match cricket for Australia. What a moment. Boy from Tasmania, gone past all the greats, and they produced some great batsmen over the years.
How does it feel seeing that?
Yeah. Oh, look, I've had a good run, haven't I, at the top of I can't remember the actual year. It was going past Greg Chappell. It was a long, long time ago. So being the top dog for 20 years, not a bad run. But very, very happy to pass over to a bloke like Ricky Ponting. He's been, a very special player. Plenty of years left in him as well. So he's going to set pretty tall order for the next bloke to come along and beat. But,
it's not like the record in swimming, is it? It lasts more than a day. So you did have.
Oh no, they've
20
got
years.
These special bats now that produce, extra.
The hydrofoil bat.
Hydrofoil bat, yeah.
You seem all right, Avo.
Yeah, look, I've had a few tears out the back, and I've got the Kleenex out, so the boys have been very, very compassionate. But look, I'll get over it eventually.
It's good to see you haven't taken your bat and ball and gone home or anything like that.
I kicked a few chairs over.
Oh, great. But we have seen the end of Punter in this innings. Just a hook shot for him. He's normally so good at it. He's probably the top player of the short ball. It was a good one though, wasn't it?
Well, he has been, but this again, Onions, he's one of those sneaky quick bowlers, and he's got a good bouncer on him, and that one really caught Ricky by surprise. It was in the perfect spot in that it was just high and just over off stump. And Ricky, unfortunately, a lot of the times those can go over the keeper's head. You get enough bat on it and it flies away safely. But just got the feather edge on it, and the end of Ricky Ponting, which was a big wicket for England.
Well, it's interesting, this one, because this Edgbaston pitch was described as it was going to be a sponge, a bit of jelly or whatever. They've had rain. Obviously, the first day's play was virtually all rained out.
Yeah.
And Onions has come in the first hour of play, and it's really carrying through the keeper.
Yeah, well, I'm not too sure their groundsman knows what's going on. Last time we were over there, they said, it's going to do everything. It's a good wicket to bowl first, so we do, and we go for 400 plus in the day. This wicket was going to be slow and low. Well, what I've seen, the ball swung and carried through the keeper better than the previous two wickets. So, to me, it's not the worst track to actually bowl on. If you stand the seam up and get in the right areas, ball just nipping around a little bit. So, yeah, look, hopefully the wicket stays like this and our bowlers can get something out of it.
And there's a lot of boundaries too. It's not as if the outfield is really that slow because of the rain.
No, look, it's been fairly racing away. All the kerfuffle yesterday about how spongy the outfield was. There was mud everywhere, and it was just terrible underfoot. Mate, that ball was racing away to the boundary, and
22 boundaries yesterday.
Yeah, look,
of 120 runs.
Quite incredible. The batting yesterday was outstanding. The bowling wasn't at its best, but. Yeah, the conditions have held up really well.
Yeah.
I guess maybe the moral of the story here is don't listen to the curator at Edgbaston, because he tells lies. Now, there is an opportunity here, though, for the two batsmen at the crease now, Marcus North and Michael Clarke. Now, North, it was perhaps even muted that he might get dropped, even though he'd made 2 tons in 4 tests. Good chance here for him to do something. Yeah,
look, batting under a lot of pressure, which can happen when you bat at number 6, because invariably you can go in at side in trouble. So batting with Michael Clarke, who is our man in form, chance to sort of build up a bit of a partnership and get us into that sort of 300 plus zone, which wouldn't be a bad thing to, if we can make 350 all out type scenario, well, it opens the game up and there's still a big chance for results. So big partnership important from these two, because we've got Graham Manu, then really the tail, although Mitch Johnson probably
batting better than his
batting better than bowling. Well, yes, I wasn't going to say that, but yeah, quite a good bat. So we've still got some blokes in the shed who can score some runs.
It's just about 50 overs gone now, and the Aussies are nearly at 200 runs. It's a pretty good scoring rate. Is there any indication that we are trying to get the runs quickly? There is a bit of weather around. Can we look for some? Are we just trying to get as many runs as we possibly can first dig, or are we looking for maybe declarations with the weather around?
Yeah, look, they'd have one eye on the weather really, but you've just got to play the moment. And if the weather intervenes, well, so be it. But it does look as though that we've taken a really positive mindset out there to try and score quickly and be positive. But I just reckon the surface is good, and if the bowlers don't get it right, you're going to go for a lot of boundaries because the outfield's quick. So, just a combination of things. It's really good, to see that the game moving forward, even though we've lost a fair bit of time to rain. Hopefully, we can still get some sort of result happening.
Yeah,
Andrew Strauss has been criticised before about his captaincy and especially field placements. How do you think he's gone today? He's certainly had plenty of slips, the gully. He's been willing to attack.
Yeah, well, I thought he's done a pretty good job. Listening to some of the commentary, they've sort of been arming and ahhing about whether they need an extra slip or a bat pad and maybe attack a little more. But he seems to have got the mixture reasonably good as far as attacking positions and defending run scoring. It depends what you're talking to your bowlers. If you want to get your bowlers to bowl up and get the batsman driving, well, sometimes bowlers are reluctant if they're getting pumped through the covers a fair bit. So if you put a cover fieldsman in, it's almost an attacking position because you're telling your bowler you want him to throw the ball up there. Chances for LBW's bowls caught behinds, but you still got that run-saving type scenario. So I think he's mixed it up pretty well.
How's your aura, AB?
My aura?
Yeah.
I never had any, but I lost a long time ago if I did.
Yeah, plenty of talks about auras in the lead up to this Test match. Just rubbish leading up into a game, or does it just show a little bit of niggle between the two sides? It's good stuff.
I think it's good. The series has been played in really good spirit, but there's a bit of niggle there, which I don't really mind too much. And I think Strauss was just asked a direct question about, has this Australian side got, the aura of past Australian sides? And he said no.
And he's probably right.
I think he's probably right. I mean, a side that's without Warne, McGrath, Gilchrist, Hayden, Langer, Martin, etc., who built up on aura because of their performances, they're not there anymore, and this Australian side's got the chance to build up an aura. But
and if anything, this morning showed us that the game does change so quickly, doesn't it? I mean, we're one for 120. Watson 62 not out, 2 balls, and all of a sudden it's totally different. Once again, the series changed. We win this game, and all of a sudden the axe will be hovering over the heads of whoever didn't perform for England.
Exactly right. I mean, you can't sort of lie back and start smoking cigars because you've had a couple of good sessions. You've got to make sure you nail every ball, each session, each hour comes along. As soon as you take your foot off the pedal a little bit, you can really cost yourselves. And as we saw, overnight we're going along many miles an hour. 2 balls later, all of a sudden we've got the wobbles on. So it can change very quickly. So, but it's good. That's what we enjoy watching as long as we come out on top.
And for a change, I guess, for England, it wasn't Flintoff doing all the damage and making those breakthroughs. It takes a bit of pressure off him as well, doesn't it?
Well, they've all thrown it's in the Fred basket, isn't it? If he's not firing, England are struggling, and we haven't sort of rated the other guys all that highly. Although I think Anderson's a quality bowler, swings the ball around a bit. We haven't seen a lot of Onions and Broad. Broad is their sort of like not so much development player, but one of the young guys they got high hopes for. So he's in the side for that reason. And Onions, everyone was questioning whether he should be there or Harmison, who, I know our boys have got pretty big raps on us. If he's firing, he's difficult. But Onions today, that first spell he bowled this morning, outstanding. And he's got a bit of zip. He's a bit sneaky, one of those sneaky, quick guys. 90 mile an hour, plus you can swing it. You're pretty handy proposition.
We've just lost another one. I think it was Anderson who's taken Michael Clark, so the Aussies now five.
While I've been talking, we've lost more wickets. Not good.
Getting the ball starting to swing a fair bit as well. So
yeah, well,
it does change quickly.
It does. I mean, what can happen with all that rain that's been around, the water, lying in the surface, and then the sun comes out, you get that heavier atmosphere, ball starts swinging around. So yeah, it's been a good day for England. They've responded to yesterday's lacklustre form pretty well today so far.
Well, Alan, we better stop talking before we sink further.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us and enjoy the rest of the day's play.
Pleasure, guys.
Welcome back to The Long Lunch. Well, as mentioned, we have a special guest this hour. Tora Bright, Australia's champion snowboarder and Olympian, joins us. Thanks very much for your time. A very busy time for you going into an Olympic year. We'll ask how the preparation's going, because you've had a bit of surgery this year, which is probably a big thing heading into an Olympics.
Yeah, it's actually a really great thing, because the shoulder I've been struggling with for about 4 years, ever since the first Olympics. So the way I look at it is that, a car will go in for its maintenance and it always runs better. So I've gone in for my maintenance and my body's going to be working and strong. So, yeah.
So it's all better now. You turned pro at 14. It's an amazing age to be competing on a professional level, and you've already been to one Olympic Games, finished 5th in that one. You're now the gold medal favourite heading into these Olympics. How's the visualisation of that? You go to sleep every night thinking about being in the pipe in Vancouver?
Yeah, exactly. Just being in a pipe anywhere, really. My mind is always thinking of newer and greater things to learn and master on the snow. So yeah, I can't wait to get back on snow in a couple of weeks in New Zealand and work on these tricks and combinations for the Olympics.
I read way back before the 2006 Winter Olympics, you were the favourite, the gold medal favourite going into that. Obviously, it didn't exactly go your way. What's it like? You are, again, as mentioned, the favourite for next year. Does that sort of pressure affect you at all, or what did you take out of that result a couple of years ago?
At the last Olympics, I was definitely a little disappointed with the result. Some people are like, oh, she was injured, because my shoulder did come out the first time at the Olympics, first run of the finals. But really, I was able to pull it together and do the run that I'd planned to do, and I was really happy with it. And I thought that I would have, scored a little better. But that's the thing that you deal with judged events, is that, it's very contradictory and controversial at times. So.
It does appear subjective, doesn't it? It was almost as though you were one trick away from going straight to the gold medal when you're on the half pipe. We're all sort of sitting at home here in Australia just going, oh, just one more. Have you got that up your sleeve this time around?
Oh my goodness. Looking back, I'm like, the things I was doing then, perhaps harder than what I've been doing these last 4 years. So I'm like, it's so hard to tell, because, I keep progressing as a rider, and really it's just, how the judges at all these different events actually take to it. So yeah, it's a little odd, but I got a new bag of tricks and other things that I'm wanting to learn and work on. So I'm just excited to ride, really.
Because there are plenty of tournaments, there's World Cups and World Championships, I guess, to fill your time throughout the years as well. How strong, I guess, for these tournaments and for the Olympics is the Aussie contingent?
Let's see, there will be 2 Australian girls, Holly Crawford and myself, and then the guys, there is maybe 3 or 4 guys that would make it, and that's a full team for the guys. You can only take 4 Australians, so people think that we're just a country full of surfers, but there are a group of us that spend a lot of time over travelling the Northern Hemisphere for the winters, and Nate Johnson and Scotty James are amazing riders, so it's kind of exciting to be a part of and see these guys.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because a lot of surfers will spend their life chasing that perfect wave, and even no matter how good it is, they still go looking for another one. You spend your life chasing a white wave, is it?
Yeah, nice one, the white wave.
Have you found it?
Yes. You see, I spend a lot of time these days competing in half pipes and doing the slope style. That I need a bit more time to find that white wave. I need some more powder days.
It's really epic. Now,
Yeah.
what happens for you? You know, obviously you've had the interrupted preparation so far, but it's a good thing with the surgery. But between now and off to New Zealand, and what happens between then and Vancouver?
So pretty much I'll spend, maybe 3 weeks or so, just until the winter or the spring winds up in New Zealand, and then it's straight off to Susvey in Switzerland for a World Cup event where I'll just make sure that I've got plenty of points, and then it's straight into a normal winter really. Got the X Games, I'll probably do a Grand Prix or a Dew Tour. And then into the Olympics, and then after the Olympics is done, it's straight back into all the other sponsorship commitments and other events. So the winter keeps rolling.
You mentioned the subjectivity of the sport, and I guess within Australia you are Miss Extreme Sport, but you made your name by doing things bigger and better and looking cooler and calmer than everybody else, and that's an aspect to it as well. You can do all the tricks in the world, but if you don't do it in style, you lose out as well. How do you practice that? Is it,
You can learn style, I've found out.
Find some somewhere.
When actually, learning tricks, you never do it perfectly at first, and you never have the right style and body placement, so it just takes time. And thanks to my brother Ben as my coach, he helps me perfect it. And
it sounds like there's a lot of face plants involved in that, is there?
oh my goodness, yes. Yes.
We don't see your face is all intact, you're looking very good. So
yes, I'm glad. I have had a black eye, whiplashes.
Oh wow, yeah, no. Obviously bred you guys tough. And years ago I read that you wanted to be a rally car, or you'd be a rally car driver if you weren't, into this. So you're obviously of that mould, the extremes.
Yeah, I people think it's funny when I say I'm not really competitive with the snowboarding, and I'm not in a sense, but when you get me in a car or on a go-kart track, it's a whole different story. I'm not Tora.
Well, we've seen pictures of you snowboarding. We've heard you talk about getting into a car, but there is a rumour out there that don't pick a fight with Tora Bright.
Even though you look so sweet.
Oh my goodness.
Let's just have a look at Tora in action now. This, I imagine this happens all the time on the snowfields. You're copping a snowball in the aisle, and I'll meet you in the car park afterwards. And looking pretty stylish while you're doing it as well.
Oh my goodness. Yes, this was Roxy's idea to kind of showcase the outerwear in a fun way, and they're like, Tora, everybody thinks you're nice, but we want to show you in a different light. So we did a take on an old kung fu movie, and this is how it turned out. That's my roommate Alicia. Took her to the ground.
Beat them up.
Yeah, and there is a sequel coming out. We filmed it in Morocco. So, yeah.
It's a really good thing to have sponsorship like that. They obviously are big fans of yours and look after you, and you've already got a big name, I guess. It must be pretty successful.
Yeah, I mean, having the support of Roxy is wonderful. They've been with me ever since I was 15 years old, and now I've grown with the company, and they've grown with me, and we've now I have a signature outerwear line called the Roxy Bright Edition. So I design my own goggles, outerwear, board and bindings, which is kind of a cool little different aspect on, not just out snowboarding. I involve myself in the design process, which is cool to learn about too. We
are running out of time, but it becomes interesting because traditionally in Australia we are a beach culture. But if you do come from Coomera, Victoria, and your family, your brothers were all ski racers, what made you get out of those bindings and have a crack on a snowboard?
Well, I was a ski racer too, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But really, it was just my brother. He was just learning how to snowboard with some friends to go in the interschools to fill a place, and at that same day, I told Mum, I was just like, Mum, don't worry about spending the money on me with downhill skiing and training and whatnot. He's like, I'll just cross-country ski. And then my brother comes along and says he's learning to snowboard, and I'm like, oh, can I? And it's just a blur since then.
Nice.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, well done.
Do you ever see summer, by the way?
No, I did this year. I stayed in the States and rehabbed in summer, so that was amazing. First
Wow.
summer in 10 years.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's been great chatting to
Yeah.
you on the long lunch. We'd love to talk to you for a little bit longer, but we are running out of time, Tora. And best of luck in Vancouver in
Thank
February.
you.
Yeah, drop by again.
Yeah, definitely.
Talk
Thanks
about how
for
you
having
went.
me.
Hopefully you got gold.
There we go.
Well, stay with us. A look ahead to tomorrow's Champions League fixtures. That is now.